Today's episode is deeply human, deeply real, and honestly, incredibly inspiring.
So I took that, I was really excited by that opportunity to create a program, and I just delved right in it and did a 10-week course.
Our guest today is Karen Morham, a leader whose journey is anything but conventional.
Well, I don't think I'm a reactive leader, so I take a step back. I make sure that I understand what the issues are.
So, what motivated that shift, like from a corporate structure into something that is, community-centered work?
I just don't know. Some people just have it. I don't know if it's just in their bones. I don't know. But some leaders are just, they can command anything and they'll get it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LoopLynks Show, where we connect stories of people who are building impact through experience, resilience, and purpose-driven leadership. Today's episode is deeply human, deeply real, and honestly, incredibly inspiring. Our guest today is Karen Morham, a leader whose journey is anything but conventional. From dreaming of becoming an astronaut, to aviation, to banking, to fitness leadership, to farming, to coaching, and to building community hubs. And today, creating life-changing international opportunities for young athletes through Sports Travel Australia and her travel initiatives. Karen's story is about reinvention, resilience, and most importantly, daring to dream even when doors close. Karen, welcome to the LoopLynks Show. It's an absolute delight to have you here today. How are
Thanks,
you?
Joel. And I'm good, thanks, Joel. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to, Karen, begin by understanding the human side of your story before we start about the professional journey. You've had incredibly diverse experiences. And before all of that, you were a young girl, you were dreaming big. So you once also dreamed of becoming an astronaut, and you even wrote to NASA. So what was it about exploration, science, and discovery, Karen, that intrigued you so deeply, even at that young age?
I think I was just amazed by what was unfolding in front of me as a young girl. I thought it was amazing for people to venture to the moon, something that just seemed so amazing. Like it was just an idea that that I wanted to be part of. I always kind of felt like I was born too early, that those were the things that really excited me. It was just something that inspired me, something that, I really wanted to achieve for myself.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Right, you were born too early. Well, that's a first. Okay. Well,
Way
can
too
you?
early.
Yeah, that's something. I'll tell you what, I actually resonate with that. Even I feel that sometimes that, maybe if I was born in the 40s, I'd probably like that era a whole lot better. Well, anyway, you have what you have. So you
Yeah.
incredibly hard, Karen, towards scholarship, and you narrowly missed that out. So that must have had an emotional impact. Matter of fact, a pretty strong one. So looking back, how did that disappointment actually begin shaping what we call is your incredible resilience today?
I I think what it did for me is what I'm not going to let someone say to me that I can't do anything. If someone actually says to me that I can't do it, I'm more determined to do it. And I think um, by having those things that are just out of reach, I strive to be able to reach them. I kind of have this, philosophy that if I never try, I'll never know.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. If you don't try, you never get to know.
No, that's right. At least I can say I tried, and if I fail, it's a lesson. It's not anything more than that. I don't see it as a personal failure at all. I kind of feel like those are the lessons we learn in life, and then you can embrace that and go one step further.
Yes, absolutely. At least, you leave with satisfaction that you give it all you have, and if it didn't work out, that's not a problem. And Karen, during university, you were also told, during those interviews that you have, that sport may just not be the right path for you. And yet today, sport is basically it's central to your life's work. So
Yeah.
when, like you said, when someone challenges your identity like that, on an emotional level, how do you process it and how do you keep moving forward? Do you feel, doubt sometimes? And how do you overcome those roadblocks? How do you overcome those emotions?
I do feel doubt, and those feelings at that time have never left me. But I take time to process what's happened and then realize that, okay, there's not one path forward, there's many paths. So the way I went about it, when I was told we just don't see you doing anything in the fitness industry, which
Mhm.
really I totally disagreed with, and felt the anger by those statements from those people in the board. What can I do to still realize those dreams? So yes, I worked in a bank, but outside of the bank, I got the skills I needed to to become a fitness leader. I never achieved it at a school university level, but I did achieve going around the back ways to still do what I do now and still have great satisfaction in what I do. So even though, that there's one path that someone says to you that you can't achieve it, you can't take this path, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the road. There are still many paths around to achieve your goal. It may take you longer. For me, it certainly did. It took me many, many years. I had children in between that time, and I still had those goals and I still wanted to achieve them, and I still did.
Fantastic. And when you reflect on those early setbacks, matter of fact, certain leaders. So in your case, did you maybe notice along the way a very subtle internal strength that was developing in you during that time? Did you identify that, when that was happening to you?
Yep, yep, I did, and there were things that weren't easy. Things like public speaking and things like that that I needed to have the skills for that I just didn't have. But for those things that I struggled with, I still try to find the skills to learn them and keep trying to improve that skill set so that I'd be better. Um, because not every leader has all of those skill sets in front of them. It's just a matter of working on them continuously. And for me, I wasn't that confident to develop confidence. And I think a lot of my confidence did come from doing aerobics classes or spin classes, or, just being out the front of people, commanding, instructing people what to do. That slowly built my confidence. Even where I developed a program for fitness and nutrition for a school, um, delivering that and creating that program was a different kind of skill that I learned that I was incredibly proud of. And it was just those small little steps that built my confidence and made me more confident into what I can do. And yeah, I gained a lot of strength in that. That I could rely on what I knew myself, and when I delivered it, I was confident with it. So
Absolutely. I completely relate to that. I mean, you can have setbacks, but every little win that you have in life, it could be seemingly insignificant, but they do contribute a lot in building confidence. So, Karen, it's quite powerful, that how these early experiences in life, especially the difficult ones, are what quietly and in a very subtle fashion become the foundation of leadership later on in life. So,
Mm.
from what we hear, clearly your journey is like a masterclass of reinvention, moving across various industries, roles, and completely different environments. So, question arises after leaving university, you stepped into banking. So, what skills did that phase, your time with the banking industry, what skills did you learn? What did that time teach you? Skills that you're using today also.
Well, it taught me a lot actually. It taught me to um, have customer service. Having the skills to be able to talk to people is really, really important. Um, I learned a lot of different type of leadership within the bank. I moved around in like you go to a different branch and stay there for a couple of weeks. So relief staff, I found the most enjoyment out of that because you meet a diverse lot of people, a diverse lot of peers, diverse lot of management. And from that, you learn, you take bits and pieces of what you like about how people connect, and not only with your peers, but also with customers. So the bank that I was with had a really good philosophy on customers are really everything. So that philosophy stuck with me today. It's unbelievable that it does, but I think it's correct that the people that you address are really everything. And um, when I'm teaching aerobics or I'm coaching or, whatever I'm doing, even on the farm, it still comes down to the way you communicate to people. And if they're dealing with me or doing business with me, they are really my world, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be providing the service to them without them coming to me. So they are very, very important. And the way you communicate with people is really fundamental to whatever you do in everyday life.
Absolutely. I completely agree. As a matter of fact, you learn to understand, different moods and maybe conflict management and so much more in terms of identifying different character types that you may. And you transitioned after that into the fitness instruction, and eventually you owned your own gym. So,
Yep.
what motivated that shift, like from a corporate structure into something that is, community centered work?
Well, I had young children at that stage, and I was on a smaller farm. And I kind of thought, what could I do for the community? We were going through a bad drought in
Hmm.
that area. And I found an empty building and kind of thought, well, I've got these skills that I can continue to use while the kids are young. And I brought that to the community, and I did that for 10 years. And that that taught me a lot, because I started to engage in my coaching then as well. But it provided a service to a town that needed it. It helped me develop my skills further into coaching, and I had really good mentors in that town. But it was something that I could keep doing while I had kids. It wasn't something that I just shut down for 10 years. I still did that. And that's where I started working for sports travel at that time. Before I've taken over the business, I had that opportunity to coach athletes and go overseas. And that's where my foundation for sports travel really started.
Right. And the sports person and you must have been absolutely delighted. Sure.
It was honestly the best experience. My son had an opportunity to run in cross country. I went along as a parent, and I had a lot of skills. I was working for football clubs as a sports trainer, which basically is first aid. You run onto the ground and you fix someone that might have got injured or drag them off the ground, or this
Mhm.
is AFL footy in Australia. From there, I did that for 25 years. So I had a skill set with first aid and being quick with injury and, assessment and injury assessment and all that sort of thing. So I had an opportunity that the coaches at that stage had seen that I had a unique skill set. They could see that I was, could engage with people really well. And that's where I had the opportunity to then go to come on board and go as a coach and chaperone at that stage. And from there, it just grew, and I've been doing it ever since.
Right. And that experience, during those drought conditions and still, managing the gym, I mean, it was more than just a business. So do you feel that, that entire experience has largely shaped your understanding of leadership per se during a time of crisis?
Yeah, yeah, it does. You learn a lot about life, the hardships. You learn that everyone has their ups and downs, and you should never presume what a person is going through. Also, what it takes for an athlete, what it takes for an athlete to go on the tours, and what the parents go through and what they might be going through in their own situation. There's a lot of factors in it. And I think about them all when these kids get the opportunity, but the opportunities are something that I think that gives them the ability to dream, dare to dream. And I had that. And I think, if 1 out of 10 athletes can feel that as well, like, I think we've got great leaders coming forward.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. So around that time, Karen, you stepped into farming and building a beef cattle stud farm from scratch, and you did that from scratch without any prior experience. So, what do you feel is the most difficult thing to learn during that transition from city life to rural entrepreneurship? I mean, that must have been quite a transition, don't you think?
Gosh, that was hard, I tell you, because I'm a city girl. I'm not a farmer. So for a while, I'd stand back and just watch, like, I'm not going to get my hands dirty. I'm not doing that. So I was a bit hard to get into doing it, but once I started to get the confidence again, getting the confidence, I became familiar with the cattle. I started to, groom them because we would go to shows with them. Um, I got a lot more confident around the cows to the point then I became an AI technician and could artificially inseminate the cows.
Wow.
For our start. So from going from this city girl that didn't want to get her hands dirty to throwing myself right in. And again, I wanted to achieve so much out of that. Once I got the confidence there, I started creating publications for our stud. I did books. I marketed, like, I just built our cattle beef stud. So that was, something else that I wanted to add to that, which, that challenged me again in that role. So, it is quite diverse to what I do now, but I still do it now. So, I feel like, there's just a lot that you can do, and, you don't have to stick to one kind of thing in your life. There's a lot of different things to be found and enjoyed in life. Even if
Right.
you're a speed chick, you can still get into farming.
I just feel like, sometimes people have it in their mind and it's quite different from when you actually hands on try it out. And sometimes you get to feel that, hey, maybe I didn't sign up for this. Did you ever get that feeling that, hey, this is
Oh, yes. I did lots. But look, I honestly felt like it was good for the kids. Because there's nothing like the work ethic of farm kids, and I wanted the kids to grow up with work ethic. I had it naturally because, I had my dreams from a young age. This is what I wanted to do, and I went down that path and did it. But I also wanted the kids to realize that, you can get in young, you can learn how to work, and you can be prosperous, or you can, you know, life can take you different ways, and it really does. With the more that you dip your toe in and try.
Right. Absolutely. And then you also developed and taught the 10-week fitness and nutrition, course through the TAFE, the technical and the further education. So when did you realize that, you didn't just have the ability to just lead, but to teach and actually create other leaders and actually empower others? Well, when did you feel that?
Well, I was approached to with the gym. I was sort of having a program every Wednesday, and I was introducing it to the high school kids, and they'd come, and I'd give them a program for their after school or their school activities, and I did that for quite a while. And then I was approached by the local TAFE at that point, and they said, "Look, is there may be an opportunity for you to create a program for fitness and nutrition, and other community members might want to participate in that." So I took that. um, I was really excited by that opportunity to create a program, and I just delved right in and did a 10-week course, which I delivered to the local, local residents of Finley and surround, and that was the area that I lived in. And yeah, I got great achieve. Look, I loved creating that. I loved creating the program, and got a lot out of it. And I think everyone that did the course really enjoyed it. So it was, yeah, it was good.
Right. Now, I'm just thinking on a very personal level, and these are not scripted questions. Whenever you come across something new and you dive in head first, or you could probably dip your toe, and there's got to be roadblocks, and you've got to overcome them slowly and slowly. So, at any stage in your life, Karen, have you felt, that maybe the valley is being a little too long, and have you ever felt certain amount of burnout?
Uh, Look, to be honest with you, there were times where you just kind of felt like I need some time. Like I was so busy doing so many things that I just kind of thought, well, if I wasn't doing that, I'd be able to have some more time to just relax, enjoy the garden, or do something different. My goodness, I never even had a garden. But um, there were times that you kind of go, have I just bitten off too much, more than I can chew? And if I had those feelings, they didn't last long. Um, Whenever I take a break, I then look for a challenge. I don't know why, but it is true. Like I think, oh well, for a time there, we had a pause on, my husband. He he's a diesel mechanic, and he was traveling a bit, and then we were working for ourselves with that. So then he had a bit of a break, and I'm like, whew, I don't have to worry about the books for a while. I actually enjoy not doing the books, but then I'm starting to create other things that it like do a course or something, and then the work ethic goes right back up again. So if I do feel like I want a break, or I do take one, but then I'm straight onto what I need to do. I mean, I don't have ADHD or anything. I don't. I just like to keep really focused on what the next thing to do is.
Right, right, right. I guess, that kind of quality is what really creates people to be leaders, people who want to be productive and involved, and people who just want to do something. They just want to sit back and relax wherever. Yes, completely agree. And then you've been involved in football training and athletics, like you mentioned, and that's been on for decades. So this is a question that we've been learning about your life. But do you feel that you've come across a lot of young athletes who maybe taught you about resilience and growth
Yep.
and, certain lessons that we as adults pretty often forget. Do you feel that you've learned something from young athletes also?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yep. It's interesting, especially, when you are dealing with a lot of the athletes, what their thought processes are. Even ones that would travel overseas, you can really quickly work out who is going to be that type of person, just with the way they talk, with the way their goals are, what they want to do. And you like to dive in a bit and just kind of see where their head is, what their plans are, what their ambitions are. I know for myself, I always had ambition. Um, so it's interesting to know. Like, often I get athletes that will say, "This is what I want to achieve. I want to by this time. I wanted that," and you kind of go, "Yep, go for it." And I try to tell them it's okay if you don't make it. It doesn't mean you fail. So, um, but yeah, like, you do learn a lot about kids and resilience, and they teach me every day. Even my grandson, he's 6. He teaches me all the time, and I kind of go, "Wow." I don't know if I was thinking the things or saying the things that he was at that age, and I'm like, I was born way too young. They've got all the technology in front of them, and I'm like, "Wow, where is this all going to go?" And I remember being at the school and just having one computer and everyone at the school fighting over having to use it. So, these kids have got it all at their fingertips, and I'm like, wow, where are they going to go with this? So, um, I would love to be in the minds of kids in another 10 years and see where their thoughts are, what their future, what their ambitions are, and teach me more. Mm.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree. As a matter of fact, when I come across some kids and I just think that to myself that you've got it a whole lot easier than we did. But then I just see those very kids who've seen it easy, who've got all that technology at their disposal, and they come across a roadblock. I do see a reflection of tremendous resilience even in them. So I think it's just a human thing, to overcome a challenge, to stand up to it and not buckle down under it. Completely agree with what you're saying. And that inspires people of any age.
Yeah.
So you look at all those career changes, like from banking to fitness, coaching, and then farming, and eventually education. So there's got to be something that has completely remained consistent with you ever since you were a child, a quality that has been continuously with you. What do you feel that one quality is in you that has remained consistent and has tremendously helped you along the way?
I definitely feel it's the determination, um, that, um, that you can achieve what with a lot of hard work, that you can try and achieve your goals. But it's determination. And especially if someone says, you we don't see you doing that, um, you can't do that. Well, why not? It only makes me want to do it more. So I'm not an astronaut yet, though. But um, yeah, it's a challenge. I love a challenge. I really do. It's like puzzles, and um, certainly determination and trying to overcome what seems impossible. Um, it it really isn't.
Right, completely agree. Determination, yes, that can, completely concur with that. Resonates with me, man. It's fascinating, Karen, how seemingly all these unrelated paths eventually they converge and, merge into something that's meaningful, which actually brings us to what we're building today. So today you're basically leading Sports Travel Australia, and you're basically you built that around the Dare to Dream concept. which is giving young athletes international opportunities that are extending far beyond just sports competitions. So, how do you describe the heart behind the Dare to Dream model? What's the thought behind it?
I would say my thought behind it is to give these athletes an opportunity. They may not be the top of their sports team, or they may not be the fastest kids. They may not be the kids that throw the furthest, or they may develop. We're talking about adolescents that may develop at different rates. That generally those opportunities to compete internationally or even at the highest level locally are achievable by those kids that are, suit the fit for model kind of characteristics. They're well developed, or they have the skills early. So the Dare to Dream is not just a dream for those top performing kids. It's an opportunity for the ones that are up and coming, that may get there a bit slower, an opportunity to experience what it's like for international competition, a Dare to Dream idea. They can go there and they go, yep, this is what I want to do. And by that, they strive for that dream. And that's where the concept of Dare to Dream comes from. We've had kids that have gone and represented, their country at different sports other than what they actually did. So, for example, we've had track and field athletes who have represented Australia in football, male or female, it doesn't matter. We've had athletes that were sprinters that have gone into, into snow sports. Like it's a concept. They want to achieve that higher level, and they'll do what they can to do it. It's a Dare to Dream, and it's available to anybody.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. Especially for the ones that people don't notice, the wallflowers, if you may, whose names are not even known in their early years in classrooms. I think that's really incredible. And Karen, I'm sure you've seen all these athletes interacting during these tours and building strong bonds amongst themselves. So, what transformation do you witness in these young people when they go through all these experiences? Do you see them changing along the way?
Yes, I actually do. So if you can picture that these athletes, they often don't know each other. So they're coming from around Australia. They're meeting at the airport for the first time. They're looking at the ceiling. They're looking at their shoes. They don't know anybody. They're shy. They're anxious. They've got anxiety. After about an hour, once we start saying goodbye to the parents, we start moving them through immigration and customs and all those sort of sections in the airport. About an hour later, it's like they were always friends. They work as a team. They're inclusive. We encourage an inclusive environment, but they do that themselves as well. Fast forward to the day we go home and we're at the airport. Well, it's a flood of tears. Like, these kids, they've become a family. It is heartbreaking to watch them while they all go onto their separate aeroplanes back home, because we don't always travel home together. Like, you might have Brisbane and Melbourne or Sydney, they all catch different flights home. So they've all become so much like a family that it's heartbreaking to watch them when they've all got to separate. It's so hard. But, I stay in contact with a lot of them, and they are all still great friends with each other from one year to the next. So the transformation is amazing. They encourage and lift themselves and each other up. They're forever friends right through to their grown up. I've even had parents who went on maybe 30 years ago, they went on the tour themselves and have had kids, and their grown kids, have got an opportunity to go, and they say, we want our kids to experience what we did. So it's wonderful. It's generational. It's an amazing experience. It's amazing to watch how they change and grow, and kids that had anxiety about anything sort of grow out of it. They don't become so dependent on the parents. They actually start to problem solve. They're not allowed ever to be alone. I've got to state that. So they can travel around in groups. So they've got to learn between their groups how they might do this or that, whereas they may not have even had that opportunity at home. And you consider some of these kids might be a year off getting their driver's license. They have to have some level of independence. So they do learn a great deal. They become very worldly. They aspire to things, and it's great to see.
Right. Sure. I mean, it definitely drives developing resilience in the face of what we normally know as resistance to change, meeting new people, getting independent. I'm sure that experience must be incredible. And they're getting to know all that, learn all that. And they become more responsible adults, and eventually leaders themselves. So, one of the biggest challenges, Karen, that you had mentioned was, is unpredictability, numbers doubling, logistics shifting, managing large scale travel operations. So, how do you manage to keep your head, stay grounded when dealing with so many moving parts?
I think it just takes a good formula. Yes, there is the unpredictability between one year to the next. A lot of factors come into that. It could be financial, it could be, the dollar, could be costs. Costs are rising all the time. It's unavoidable to have to increase your costs, but um, the basically it's a matter of sticking to your formula and knowing, okay, well, I can predict this many to this many. The challenge is not to overpredict and not to underpredict, because each has its own set of costs. So you've got to take the wins with the losses sometimes. I've got to be ahead of it a little bit to kind of like, at the moment, I can sort of say, well, I'm not going to achieve 60 this year. I might get 50, which is one bus. So there's no need for two buses. But you've got to be careful not to cancel that too. But yeah, it is difficult. It is a juggling act. But look, at the end of the day, there may be some costs that I try to avoid, but it's part and parcel of what I'm doing. It is a unique model in the fact that, when I deal with airlines or I deal with accommodation, I can't say to them, hey, I don't know my numbers. I just have to predict it. So I sort of go somewhere in between.
Right. Have you ever miscalculated or have, landed up kind of in a soup any time in your entire
No.
career? Never? Okay. Wonderful. Fantastic.
I'm pretty good on policy. Like I make sure that that I have the expectations are all documented. Like I do make sure that there is a procedure in place for everything. And every year I kind of think, okay, I've covered everything, and then something else will happen. And I go, okay, I've got to now add that in. But I try to what do you say? I try to foresee things that could potentially happen. For example, when you go overseas, everyone looks the wrong side of the road. They're not looking at where the traffic is. So you've got to make sure they're fully aware of their surroundings, and you've got to educate them on that, because that could be a big thing. So you've got to look at the risk and assess the risks, and make sure that you're ahead of it. And that's what I make sure I do. Show my due diligence and duty of care to the people I'm providing the tours for.
Right. Now, managing so many complex things, have you ever felt, you know, discouragement at any point, or even, there's disappointment? Sometimes you feel like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore, or anything of that sort. And if you have, how do you manage those kind of feelings?
Well, when I first started to take on the business, I did feel that, that kind of gutted feeling like, am I doing the right thing? It's a lot of risk. It's a lot to take on. Do I really want that? But that was only 5 seconds. And then I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Like, I'll manage it. But I do think that I do have disappointment. I know that I had a cross-country tour, and we brought all the athletes there for competition, only to find that we couldn't compete. So that was a hard one, because I felt really a sense of disappointment. I let the group down. It was very, very hard, and I'm trying to think how to manage that particular how to manage that particular problem and address it to the group. I knew the day before, and I try to manage the situation to try and get the kids to compete, and it just didn't work out. And it wasn't a flaw. It was just a huge misunderstanding, and I didn't realize till a couple of days out of competition. So we're already there. So it was hard. We did find other competition, which was good, and the kids did great. But it was addressing that with the parents and the group, knowing that they would be disappointed, and I felt every bit of it with them. Trying to hold composure was hard. So yeah, there were hard bits. Other things that I find really difficult is, you could take a big group with you, and I had 96 last year, 96 parents and athletes. And by far you can't please 96 people all at once. So it is really, really difficult. As much as my goal is to make every single one of those people enjoy that experience, it's sometimes a bit hard, especially if, we could be training and the high jump pit isn't, long jump pit isn't available, or the high jump mats aren't there, or, you have to think on your feet and work with the problems that you have in front of you. Those things get disappointing, but more or less, when you disappoint parents, that's hard, because they have an expectation. I find them to be the hardest, because you're there focusing on the athlete and what they want to achieve without getting muddied by the parent. But look, we work it all out, and the team that I have with me on the tours, they're fantastic. And we are a wall. So when we have an issue, we discuss it all together. It's not just my way or the highway. It's if I have a problem or if they have a problem, we bring it together and we work the problem. And together we will manage that situation when it comes. So the disappointment, yes, I feel every bit of it. The way we approach it is that we approach it together, and I might be addressing it, but we are all together on the outcome. So that's how we manage our conflict when we have conflict within the group or things that disappoint us, and how we manage it. So it can get tricky. It can get disappointing at times. It can be hard. Sometimes you think, oh, especially if you've got an athlete that's hurt as well and they're off at hospital and you need to contact mum or dad at home. And you have to keep them informed about what's happening, and they wish they were there with their kids. So there are a lot of internal pieces to the job. But look, I've been doing it so long, and the team have been doing it for so long that we're really all over it, and we can kind of see everything that's happened. Although we do get new things every now and again. They kind of
I'm beginning to kind of see the challenge there, because when you're dealing with athletes that's a younger group, when you're dealing with parents that's older people, and of course both of these would have different perspectives to the same problem. So kind of bringing them together on the same page, yes, I can totally understand that. And Karen, after COVID, that's when you expanded into broader travel services, and that's when you founded the Premier Travel Agency. And so, what new possibilities opened up for you, during that period of complete reset globally?
Well, Premier Travel came about because I was getting very confident with my skills with managing sports travel, and I'm feeling like, well, I am doing travel services for people, but it's not necessarily sports related. And I'm like, it'd be lovely just to be able to have a business that just doesn't have the word sports in it, because that's limiting. By having Premier Travel, it kind of is me building something of my own. Like, sports travel has had many owners in the past before I took it on. But Premier Travel is me challenging myself with something from the beginning. And, trying to give that concept, I guess, to people that, want to relax and enjoy, take the slow path in life and enjoy travel and see the world, and, aspire to do things themselves, like give them that opportunity that way. I really enjoy doing that. I really enjoy helping people and being a service to them, really.
Right. So, when these athletes travel and you see them returning home from their international competitions, uh, are you reminded, when you see them um, developing bonds and even having a hard time separate, and just developing new qualities, new virtues, are you sometimes reminded of why you yourself chose that path? Are you kind of, feeling of satisfaction that, okay, this is exactly what I wanted to do? And are you reminded of anything like that?
Um, for me, I honestly, I didn't have that. So, I mean, everything I did in sport was, I wasn't really even that good, to be honest. I wasn't a high achiever in sport. Um, but look, I did like, I did like always challenging myself, and that's what I want for the kids. But to be honest, I didn't see any comparison between myself and the kids of today, wanting for them to do that. Like, I just never had that. For me, it was all just me trying to aspire to do my thing. It never really was sports. I think I was in a softball team. Actually, this is probably a story. I was in a softball team. I played the whole year in the softball team. I was shortstop, being short. That's what I was. And every now and again, I was thrown to outback and outfield, and no one ever wanted to be out there. Too much pressure when the ball came away. But I do remember finals, and there was someone better, and I didn't compete in that. And I guess that may have been a bit of a disappointment too, which, again, it was one of those things that inspired me to keep going and try harder. But yeah, I just want that for kids these days anyway, like to learn that it doesn't matter with disappointment. You just keep going and stay your own path. Mm. I hope I answered that question because I think I got off track.
Right. It kind of resonates with, I'm not sure if you watched it, but there's this movie by the Hollywood actor Sylvester Stallone, and he's telling his son that, it doesn't matter how hard you can hit, but what matters is how hard you can get hit and keep
Yeah.
moving forward. And that's how winning is done.
Yeah.
And this kind of resonates with that philosophy. So
Yeah.
beyond operations and logistics, your leadership philosophy is basically, I've seen, deeply rooted in lived out experience that you've
Mm.
actually seen and lived out. And you've had some incredibly powerful lessons learned along the way. That's what I feel. Do you feel the same way?
Yep, definitely. Yep. Yep. Because I just won't let anything say I can't do anything. And yeah, everything's a lesson in life, definitely. And I think I've had a lot of great role models along the way, of people that have been resilient. My grandfather, he learnt many languages just sitting at home, watching TV. There used to be a language channel, and my goodness, he learnt French and he learned all sorts of things. He was brilliantly smart in physics. I think I learnt chemistry from him. He was a huge role model because a lot of what I remember and what I was taught came from him.
Okay.
So I think he might have been a good inspiration to me as a young girl. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Here in this next segment, we're going to go into is basically about wisdom and leadership lessons that we've just touched upon. Lessons that you can only come through experience and certain things that you've lived through. So you've shared a lot of difficult workplace experiences early on in your career involving complaint handling and sometimes leadership conflict. How did those moments reshape your understanding of communication and, the entire organizational process, how organizations work and all that?
Um, well, I don't think I'm a reactive leader, so I take a step back. I make sure that I understand what the issues are. And rather than be reactive, I take the time to be able to work out the best way. And before I even do that, before I even um, sort of work out how to fix an issue or whatever it may be, I will even get opinions of other people. It's not like, if it's simple, it's not a problem, but if it's complex, the way I'm thinking might not necessarily be the right way forward. So I take the time and really examine the problem, and then make a decision based on that. And that way, I feel comfortable um, with with what I've gone forward with. There can be many problems if I don't. A frustrated email or something. But no, I've learned not to be reactive. I've take the time. I don't have to respond straight away. I just need to think about what I'm saying and doing, and even walking away and coming back to an email or coming back to someone, like, I'll get back to you, in when I'm ready, and then go from there. Um, I actually I actually think a lot about the let them theory. I think when there is conflict or um, something isn't, I don't agree with, I just kind of like to sit on that for a bit. How's this really going to impact me? How's it going to impact other people? And then I just kind of work my way around it. Um, So yeah, not being reactive, I think, is the key. And just being really comfortable and in control of how I deal with things.
Right. Not being reactive is sometimes probably the most incredibly tough thing to do. Oh, I completely, yeah, sometimes it really feels that way. So, Karen, what message would you want our listeners to take about your and generally unconventional success without, traditional paths that are taken? Unconventional approaches can also lead to success. So, what message would you have for our young listeners about that certain fact?
Um, well, dare to dream. Dare to dream.
That
If you've got a dream, go for it. Um, don't take failure as failure. It's a lesson. Just whatever's in your sight, just try. Because if you don't try, you'll never know. Um, and I think that you just never want to go in life wondering what if. Um, I honestly believe that. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to try what I want to do. Um, some fails, some don't. That's fine. But look, at the end of the day, I'm completely happy with the direction. So yeah, dare to dream. That's all I think. Just
dare to dream, correct, absolutely. And Karen, when you think about legacy, um, how do you want and hope people would remember you?
I just look at my. It's just simple. I don't really need any accolades or anything like that. I just want to be remembered as someone that always tried, that was always there, that always aspired to do what I could. Always had, a bit of toughness in me. I'm a sensitive person. I'm not really tough, but I'm strong-willed, and I think if my family and my friends all remembered me as having that strength of character, I'd love that. So just yeah, having strength of character and that tenacity to just achieve.
Absolutely, absolutely. And finally, Karen, if you could leave our LoopLynks community with just one belief to carry forward, what would you like that to be?
Um, believe in yourself, dare to dream.
Dare to dream, absolutely. Well, Karen, thank you so much for sharing such an honest and deeply human journey. Your stories is nothing short of inspiring. It reminds us that leadership is not just a straight line, it's built through courage, reinvention, resilience, and the willingness to keep dreaming even when the path changes. And to everyone listening today, if today's episode resonated with you, do share it with someone who's facing challenges and who needs a reminder that setbacks are not final. They're often the beginning of something much greater. So, this is the LoopLynks Show, where we have stories that connect people and ideas that create impact, and that leadership is more often than not created through lived experience. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and just like Karen said, always dare to dream.
And
Thank you.